Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to, well, getting smart about complex stuff, uncovering insights you probably won't find easily elsewhere. Today, we're diving into something that could really genuinely change your financial future. We're talking buying your first rental property.
Yeah, and it's a journey that often gets clouded by myths, misconceptions, and let's be honest, some common beginner mistakes.
Totally. So our mission today, cut through that noise. We want to help you think like the pros, figure out the difference between those, noob errors and the savvy strategies that actually build wealth in real estate.
Exactly. We're aiming to equip you with that strategic mindset from day one.
Get ready, because we're going to uncover some industry secrets, stuff that isn't widely talked about, to help you invest with confidence. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So where do we even begin? I guess the absolute foundation, right? Credit.
Yep, bedrock stuff.
There's this idea floating around that you need like a perfect score, an 850 or something crazy to even think about buying. Is that real?
That's probably the biggest myth, honestly. It's a common nude misconception. Pros know that after a certain point, a higher score just doesn't do anything extra for you in real estate lending.
Okay, so what's the magic number then? Or is there one?
Well, you can often get a loan with scores down in the 620, 640 range, but you'll pay for it with a higher rate.
Right.
The sweet spot, where you typically get the best loan pricing, the best terms, that's usually around 740, sometimes 760, depending on the lender and the market.
FN 4760. So anything above that is what? Just bragging rights.
Pretty much, yeah. For real estate, it's kind of a vanity number above that point. Doesn't get you a better deal.
Interesting. So it's more about seeing credit as a tool, something to actually use to make money, not something to be scared of using.
Exactly. Pros focus on the overall deal, getting in the game. They don't get sidetracked by tiny score fluctuations or, things like mortgage insurance if the deal itself is solid.
Okay. And you mentioned low scores. What's the usual culprit there?
Honestly, the most frequent reason we see is just late payments. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And often the easiest thing to fix.
Right. So a pro tip for staying on top of that.
Yeah, a really simple one. Create a basic spreadsheet.
Yeah.
List every single bill tied to your Social Security number. Just check it twice a month. Takes minutes.
That's it.
That's usually enough to make sure you never hit that 30-day late mark, which is what really dings your score. Sounds basic, but it works.
And checking your actual reports.
Crucial. Go to annualcreditreport.com. That's the official free site.
Sure.
Pull reports from all three bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, at the same time.
All three. Why not just Credit Karma or something?
Those services are great for monitoring, definitely. Yeah. But they usually only show you data from two bureaus. Lenders, especially mortgage lenders, pull all three.
Yeah.
And they often use your middle score to qualify you. So you need to see what all three are reporting and make sure it's accurate. No surprises.
Got it. So foundation is solid credit understanding, and then comes actually getting started assets, down payments. You mentioned a strategy earlier, house hacking.
Yeah, house hacking. For a first rental property, it's genuinely the easiest entry point for most people.
How does that work exactly?
The basic idea is you buy a property, could be a duplex or even just a single-family home with extra rooms, and you live in it for at least a year.
And why live in it?
Because owner-occupied loans have much better terms. You can put down as little as 3 to 5% using something like an FHA loan.
Okay, FHA, that's the government-backed one.
Right, Federal Housing Administration. Makes homeownership more accessible. And for veterans, a VA loan can mean 0% down. Plus, there are often state grants that can help slash your upfront cash needed.
Wow, okay. But doesn't putting down so little make people nervous, like being over-leveraged? And what about mortgage insurance?
That's definitely a common noob worry. Pros see it differently. Look, mortgage insurance or PMI, it's an extra cost, yeah. Usually required if you put down less than 20%. But experienced investors see it as a potential cost of doing business. Often a small price to pay to get into a great deal sooner rather than later.
So don't sweat the small stuff.
Pretty much. They focus on the big picture. The potential appreciation, the cash flow, the tax benefits. Is the deal itself good? That's the main question. A few bucks extra a month for PMI often pales in comparison to the long-term gains from a solid property. Think about it. A $300,000 house might only need $9,000 to $15,000 down with these strategies. That gets you in the game.
Okay, that makes sense. Focus on the big dollars. All right, so you've got your credit sorted, you've got a down payment strategy. Next hurdle, proving income, right?
Lenders want to see you can afford the payments. Typically, they ask for 2 years of tax returns.
Standard stuff.
Standard stuff. And how they look at that income depends on the trend. If your income's been going up, they'll usually average the last 2 years. But If it's been going down, they get more cautious. They'll likely just use the lower income number from the 2 years.
Oof. Okay. But are there like workarounds or hacks here, especially for people just starting their career?
Oh, absolutely. Here's where he gets really interesting, especially for recent college grads.
Yeah.
If you just graduated and you immediately get a job in the same field as your degree, lenders might count your 2 years of schooling as work experience.
Seriously, so you don't need the 2 years of tax returns?
Potentially, yeah. You could qualify for a loan basically on day one of your new job. Think about a computer science grad landing a $60 K job right after school. Boom, they might qualify immediately.
That's incredible. Okay, what about self-employed folks? Write-offs can sometimes hurt your qualifying income, can't they?
They definitely can. Write off too much and your income looks lower to the lender. But pros use depreciation strategically.
Depreciation, like for a car or equipment.
Exactly. So instead of writing off, say, a $3,000 work laptop all in 1 year, you depreciate it. Spread that cost over maybe 3 years, so $1,000 a year.
Okay. And why does that help with the loan?
Because lenders generally don't count that depreciation against your qualifying income. So you still get the tax benefit over time, but you show a higher income to the bank right now.
Clever.
Yeah. So if you technically make $70,000, but you have $45,000 in depreciation spread over a few years, the lender often still qualifies you based on that full $70,000. It's a huge advantage for self-employed borrowers.
Wow. Okay, one more income scenario. What if you just don't make enough yet, even with these tricks? Are you stuck?
Not necessarily. There's a cosigner strategy, specifically using an FHA loan. You might be able to ask a parent or another family member to cosign as a non-occupant co-borrower.
Non-occupant, so they don't have to live there.
They're on the loan, using their income to help you qualify, but they don't live in the property.
How does that work in practice?
Well, for example, maybe your dad cosigns and takes like 1% ownership on paper. You might own 49%, maybe bring in a partner for 50%. Now you can potentially get that FHA loan with just 3.5% down, even if your own income isn't quite there yet.
That seems like a great way to get started if you expect your income to go up soon.
Exactly. It's best for people on that upward trajectory.
Okay, these are some powerful financing strategies. Let's talk about the lender themselves. Finding the right one feels crucial. Where do you start? Big bank, online lender.
For your first purchase, I usually recommend starting local. Look up local loan officers on sites like Yelp.
Why local over a big national bank?
Local lenders often have better relationships with local real estate agents. That connection can actually help your offer get accepted, believe it or not. Agents trust that a local lender knows the market and can close the deal smoothly.
That makes sense. Now here's something I've heard people do. They ask for a pre-approval, but they tell the lender, don't run my credit yet. Bad idea.
Huge mistake.
Yeah.
Massive red flag for lenders.
Really? Why? People are just scared of their score dropping.
I get the fear, but doing that signals you're not serious. You're just kicking tires. Lenders are busy. They prioritize buyers who are ready to go. Asking them not to pull credit often means you get slow responses or maybe ignore it altogether.
So bite the bullet and let them run it.
Absolutely. Look, a mortgage credit inquiry will only ding your score by a few points, maybe 5 points max. And that score is then basically locked in for lending purposes for around 90 days anyway.
Okay.
Plus, the credit bureaus are smart. They know if you have multiple mortgage inquiries within a few weeks, you're rate shopping, not suddenly in financial trouble. On-time payment have a way bigger impact on your score than inquiries.
Good to know. All right, mortgage type, lots of options. What's best for the first property?
Keep it simple and flexible. Go for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage.
Not a 15-year. Don't you save interest?
You do save interest on a 15-year, but the payments are significantly higher. For your first property, the flexibility of the lower 30-year payment is usually better. You can always pay extra if you want to pay it off faster, but you're not forced to if money gets tight 1 month.
Makes sense. Build wealth first, then maybe accelerate payments later.
Exactly. The 15 years is often better later in your investing journey once you've built up more cash flow and stability.
Okay, quick practical tip. People use Zillow's mortgage calculator. How can we make those estimates more accurate? Factor in things like mortgage insurance and taxes.
Yeah, those online calculators are a good starting point. For mortgage insurance, here's a rough rule of thumb. For every 5% you're below that 20% down payment threshold, add about 0.25% to the interest rate shown.
Example.
Okay, say you're putting 10% down. That's 10% below the 20% mark, right? So 2 chunks of 5%. You'd add roughly 0.5% to 0.25% to the calculator's interest rate to approximate the PMI cost.
clever trick. What about property taxes? They vary so much.
They do. But for a quick estimate in an area with, say, a 1.2% property tax rate, take the purchase price, knock off the last 3 digits, that's roughly your monthly property tax.
So $300,000 house, about $300 a month?
Exactly. If the tax rate is double that, like 2.4%, just double that estimate, so $600 a month. The ballpark, but helpful.
And homeowners insurance, HOA dues.
Insurance, maybe budget around $50 a month to start. It varies, but that's a placeholder.
Oh.
And yeah, you'll need to manually add any HOA dues if the property has them.
Okay, that gives a much more realistic payment picture. Cool. Now the fun part, hunting for the property and finding an agent.
Right. For finding an agent, Zillow's Agent Finder tool is pretty useful. Search by the specific zip code or neighborhood you're targeting.
What should you look for in an agent profile?
Look for agents who have recent sales in that specific area. You don't just want any agent. You want someone who really knows the micromarket, the streets, the values, right where you want to buy.
Makes sense. Local expertise and property location itself. Any guidelines for a first investment?
Yeah, keep it relatively close to home, ideally within about 30 minutes of where you currently live. Make self-management or just checking on things way easier when you're starting out.
And property type or size? Any strategic thoughts there?
Yeah, here's a little trick I call bank hacking with property size. Consider starting smaller, maybe a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house.
Why small?
Because down the road, it's easier to convince a lender you've outgrown it and need to move up. This helps you justify getting another low down payment, owner-occupied loan on your next house while turning this first small one into a rental. You repeat the process.
Leveraging the owner-occupied financing rules multiple times. Smart. Okay, defining a decent neighborhood. This feels subjective. How do pros gauge it?
Okay, here's a really simple practical test I like. Ask yourself this. Would I feel comfortable meeting someone from Craigslist to sell something at, say, 9:00 p.m. in that neighborhood?
Okay.
If the answer is yes, it's generally a decent enough area for a rental. If you hesitate, maybe dig deeper or reconsider. It cuts through a lot of the noise.
I like that. Very practical. Now, when you actually reach out to these agents you found, how do you make sure they take you seriously?
Come prepared. Don't just call and say, I want to see houses. Email them or mention on the call that you have your pre-approval letter ready, preferably from a local lender, and proof of funds.
Proof of funds, like a bank statement.
Yeah, even just a screenshot showing you have the down payment money available. Sending those two things up front, pre-approval and proof of funds, instantly tells the agent you're serious, you're qualified, and you're not going to waste their time. You jump to the front of the line.
Good tip. Okay, let's talk about common mistakes people make when searching for the property itself. What should you avoid?
Big one. Don't just look for the absolute cheapest house in an area.
Why not? Isn't cheaper better?
Often, the cheapest house is cheap for a reason. These are what I call yeah-but properties. Yeah, it's cheap, but it backs up to a freeway. Yeah, it's cheap, but half the addition is unpermitted. Yeah, it's cheap, but you have to walk through one bedroom to get to another. Avoid those major functional or location issues. They're hard to fix and hard to rent.
Got it. What else?
Don't get overly swayed by aesthetics. Staging, nice smells, fresh paint, it looks great, but don't overpay for it. Remember, the seller's furniture and air fresheners, leave with them. Focus on the bones, the layout, the location.
And what about turnkey properties or flips? They seem convenient.
Be cautious there, very cautious. While some flips are done well, many are renovated purely for maximum profit with, shall we say, less than ideal quality hidden behind the pretty finishes.
Like lipstick on a pig.
Sometimes, yeah. It's really hard for you, the buyer, to know if the electrical was updated correctly, if the plumbing is sound, if everything meets code behind those new walls. You're buying unknowns.
So if you don't want to do a big renovation, what's the safer bet?
Honestly, new construction. If you want move-in ready with minimal hassle, buying new is often the way to go.
Oh.
New homes typically come with builder warranties, often up to 10 years on structural stuff, which gives you significant protection against nasty surprises.
Okay, new construction for low hassle. But what if you are willing to do some work? How do you find real value, get those wedge deals you mentioned?
Right, the wedge deal. This is usually for single-family homes. You're looking for properties with primarily cosmetic issues that scare off typical home buyers.
Like what kind of issues?
Think dated kitchens and baths, old ugly paint, really stinky carpets, maybe overgrown landscaping or junk that needs hauling away, popcorn ceilings, stuff that looks bad but is relatively easy and cheap to fix.
But the important part is...
The bones have to be good. You need to ensure the expensive stuff is solid. Newer roof, good foundation, Updated electrical panel, maybe copper plumbing or PEX. If the big-ticket items are okay, the cosmetic stuff is where you create value.
So you buy it cheap because it looks rough, fix the cosmetics, and boom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's say houses in the neighborhood sell for $400,000 fixed up. You find an ugly one with good bones for $300,000. You put in, say, $50,000 for paint, flooring, kitchen refresh, landscaping. Now you've spent $350,000 total, but the house is worth $400,000, maybe even $415,000, depending on finishes. That $65,000 plus difference, that's instant equity. That's the wedge.
And you mentioned using that equity.
Yeah. Once you have that equity, maybe after a year or so, you can often refinance the loan. If you have enough equity, you can get rid of that PMI, that mortgage insurance we talked about, lower your payment.
Nice. Okay, that's single family. What about multifamily properties like duplexes or triplexes? Is the strategy different?
It shifts a bit, yeah. With multifamily, instead of looking for physical fixer-uppers necessarily, the pro move is often to look for properties with low current rents
Low rents compared to what?
compared to the current market rate for similar units in that area. You need to figure out what those units could be renting for if they were updated or just managed better.
How do you find that out?
Talk to local real estate agents who specialize in rentals, or talk to property managers. They'll know the market rents. If you find a duplex where each unit rents for $600, but the market rent is really $800, that's your opportunity.
Because you can raise the rents over time.
Exactly. Raising the rents increases the property's income, which directly increases the property's value, especially in multifamily, where value is closely tied to income. It's a clear path to building equity without necessarily doing heavy renovations.
Okay, finding value is key. Now, writing the offer and doing inspections. Due diligence time. How do pros approach negotiation?
It's not just about price. Pros never go in blind. They try to gather information. What's motivating the seller? Do they need to close fast? Do they value certainty over getting every last dollar?
How does that help?
Because sometimes you can win a deal by offering better terms, even if your price isn't the absolute highest. Maybe you offer a quicker closing, or you waive some contingencies if you're comfortable doing so after initial checks. We once won a fixer-upper deal, $30,000 under other offers, just by cleaning up the terms and giving the seller the speed and certainty they desperately needed. Information is leverage.
Smart. Okay, the home inspection itself. What should you really focus on? It can be overwhelming.
Focus on the big stuff first, the potential deal killers or major expenses. That means foundation issues, any cracking or settling. Sewer line problems, does it need repair or replacement? Roof condition, how much life is left? And check carefully for any unpermitted additions or work. Those could be nightmares.
So structure, sewers, roof, permits. What's next here?
Electrical and plumbing systems are next in importance. Were they old, outdated, potentially unsafe?
Okay. And how do you handle getting repair bids during that short inspection period? Do you bring in a parade of contractors?
No, that's inefficient. Here's the pro approach. Staged inspections. Start with your general home inspector. Let them do their overall assessment.
Okay.
If they flag a specific major concern, like, hey, the main drain line looks suspect, then you call in the specialist. Get a plumber out there with a camera to scope just that sewer line. Get a targeted quote for that specific issue before your inspection contingency expires. Don't get bids on everything right away.
That makes sense. Targeted follow-up. Now, renovation bids themselves, if you are doing work. You mentioned pros hire specialists. Can you elaborate on the noob versus pro approach here?
Yeah, the common noob mistake is getting one general contractor, a GC, and asking them to bid the entire job. Electrical, plumbing, kitchen, roof, foundation, everything.
Seems efficient? No. One point person.
It seems efficient, but it often leads to massive overspending. The GC adds their markup to every single subcontractor's bid, and they might default to replacing everything rather than repairing or finding cost-effective solutions suitable for a rental.
So what's the pro strategy?
Hire specialists directly for each major trade. Get bids from a couple of flooring companies specifically for the floors. Talk to 2 or 3 electricians directly about the electrical needs. Get roofers to look only at the roof.
And what do you tell these specialists?
Crucially, you tell them your goal. Make the existing system safe, functional, and cost-effective for a rental property. You're not asking them to build a palace. Maybe the roof just needs an $800 tune-up to last another 4 years, not a full $15,000 replacement right now. Pros maximize the value of every dollar spent. Noobs often overspend on unnecessary full replacements.
That's a huge mindset shift. Rental grade, cost-effective repairs, not dream home upgrades.
Exactly. And tied to that, avoid custom upgrades in a rental. No unique granite countertops, no fancy specific flooring style.
Why not? Make it nice for the tenants.
Make it clean, durable, and neutral. Choose materials that appeal to 95% of people, are hard-wearing, and easy to repair or replace. Think standard LVP flooring, simple quartz or laminate counters, basic white or gray paint. Unique stuff dates quickly, is expensive to fix, and narrows your tenant pool. Remember, the goal is building wealth, not showcasing your personal taste, your forever house. That comes after you've built significant net worth, maybe $5 million plus. This first property is a tool.
Focus on the function and the financials. Got it. Okay, you're in escrow. The inspection happened. What if it revealed some unexpected, legitimate repairs needed? Not the cosmetic stuff you plan on, but like the water heater is shot.
Good question. You absolutely should politely ask the seller for a credit for those unexpected necessary repairs. Present the inspector's findings or a repair quote.
Do you ask for the exact cost?
Maybe ask for a little bit more than the actual quote, knowing they might negotiate down. Your goal is ideally to settle around the true repair cost. It's negotiation.
And that credit can help with?
It can help cover your closing costs. Closing costs, lender fees, title insurance, escrow fees, etc. typically run about 1–2% of the loan amount. Getting a repair credit can offset some or all of that cash needed at closing.
Any other ways to manage closing costs?
Sometimes, yeah. You might be able to take a slightly higher interest rate from your lender in exchange for a credit towards your closing costs. This is called lender credit.
Why would you do that? Higher rate seems bad.
It could make sense if you're planning to refinance relatively soon anyway, maybe in a couple years, to remove that PMI, like we discussed. You pay a bit more interest short-term to save cash up front at closing. It's a trade-off to consider.
Okay, lots of financial maneuvering possible. Let's get to the actual work on the property if you're doing renovations. Is there a smart order to do things?
Definitely. The biggest mistake is just showing up on day one and tearing everything out without a clear sequence. Chaos and wasted effort.
So what's the pro order?
1, plan. Have a detailed plan before you swing a hammer. 2, minimal demo. Only take out what absolutely needs to go. Don't gut it just 'cause.
Okay, plan, minimal demo, then.
3, utility prep. Get the plumbers and electricians in to prep their stuff. Moving valves, setting new boxes for lights or fans, running new wire if needed. Get the messy infrastructure work done.
Got it. Utilities prep.
4, surface prep. Now you deal with walls and ceilings. Scrape popcorn ceilings if you're doing that. Patch drywall. Get surfaces smooth and ready. 5, paint. Walls, ceilings, cabinets if you're painting them. Get the painting done before new surfaces go in.
Makes sense. Paint before floors.
Right. 6, surfaces. Now install countertops, install flooring. 7, fixtures. Pop in the light fixtures, faucets, toilets, appliances, the finishing touches.
Toilet note.
Oh yeah, pro tip.
Yeah.
Always try to keep at least one toilet functional on site during the renovation if possible. Makes life much easier for everyone working there.
Good practical advice. What about outside? Landscaping?
Landscaping comes last. Step 8. After all the interior work is done and crews aren't trampling everything, and don't overspend here for a rental. Keep it simple, clean, and low maintenance. Some mulch, maybe some inexpensive rocks. Keep the grass tidy. Curb appeal matters, but it doesn't need to be elaborate.
And that sweat equity piece. Doing work yourself.
Huge advantage, especially if you're house hacking and living there that first year. You can chip away at a lot of this work. Painting, flooring, landscaping, fixtures on nights and weekends. Saves a ton of money on labor.
Massive savings potential. Okay, final phase. Renting it out and then repeating, building the empire.
That's the goal. When renting, rule number 1, prioritize tenant quality over maximizing every last dollar of rent.
Meaning?
Meaning run background checks, credit checks, verify income and job stability. It is far, far better to get a slightly lower rent from a reliable, stable tenant who pays on time and takes care of the place than to chase an extra $50 a month from someone risky. A bad tenant eviction, damages that can wipe out years of profit. It's a huge mistake beginners make.
Quality over quantity of rent. Got it. And then repeating.
Yep. Build that empire. You can use that bank hacking strategy we talked about live in the first one. Fixed it up. Move to the next one using another low down payment owner-occupied loan. Rent out the first. Repeat.
Or if you don't want to keep moving.
Then once you have enough equity built up in that first property, usually you need about 25% equity or more, you can do a cash-out refinance.
Pulling cash out?
Exactly. You refinance the loan for a larger amount than you currently owe, and you pocket the difference in cash, tax-free usually. You can then use that cash as a down payment for your next rental property without having to sell the first one or move. That's how you really scale.
Okay. Wow. So bringing it all together, what does this all mean?
I think we've really covered the whole spectrum, haven't we? From Getting your financial house in order with credit to smart down payments, finding deals, doing cost-effective renovations.
Yeah, we went from foundation to finding value to fixing it up smartly and finally renting and repeating. The core theme seems to be adopting that pro mindset, right?
Exactly. It's about being informed, being strategic, not getting caught up in minor costs or just superficial appearances. It's focusing on the long-term value, the big financial levers, and always, always trying to maximize the impact of every dollar you invest. Be analytical.
So this deep dive really shows that success here isn't just math and money, is it? It's a whole way of thinking.
It really is. It's a
Yeah.
strategic, informed approach to solving problems and methodically building wealth. So maybe the final thought for everyone listening is this. What stands out to you about how this pro mindset, this focus on information, long-term vision, strategic action over emotional reaction, how can you apply that way of thinking to other big decisions in your life beyond just real estate?
It's a great question to chew on, something to definitely think about.